Well, I was amazed how thick I am, really. I've got no idea. Well, there's nothing to show anywhere, is there?
They're much more familiar with an analogue world.
Oh, there it is. I don't know what I did, but it's come on.
What do you think you might have done to get it to turn?
Was it this one?
There's no better substitute than working with people. At this point, I can't tell you what you're doing.
Oh, it's still coming. And I was getting a bit frustrated, irritated. Answering a phone call is not difficult, is it? And if you can't do it, you feel a right wally. I know what day it is, I know what date it is, I know what time it is, but I don't know how to make a phone call.
Many of us will be familiar with the advantages of smartphones and tablet devices. They've become an integral part of our everyday life. But it's hard to imagine when we're familiar with it just how unfamiliar and alien and complicated it is to an older user. Remember, this is not a test of you, we're just trying to understand how you would get on with a piece of equipment like that. So one of the things we do here is we bring older people into the office and get them to use these digital devices, and we get them to go through a series of tasks and start to see how they experience that, and we can video those things as well, so we can analyse in detail the problems they're having. Imagine that you're out and about.
And is the phone on?
So literally, if we try and forget what we know and see that product afresh for the first time, imagining we don't understand the language, the jargon, the icons, the way that it works, suddenly we start to get an insight into how it is for people who are not familiar with that technology.
Swipe an icon in the direction of decline.
What were you trying to do there?
Well, there was a green phone, and green normally says go.
Okay.
So I pressed it.
Okay. When they grew up with technology, the technology really was much from an analogue era. If you pressed a button, it tended to do something immediately. And interestingly, back in those days, often there was a problem with poor contact on the switch. So if something didn't happen, you pressed it harder. Now, interestingly, today when we see things like touch screens, they only require a very light touch, and often you're using swiping gestures. However, if it doesn't do what you expect, what you tend to see with older people, someone maybe 60, 70 plus, is they press it harder because of that old model of how things work.
As kids, we'd pick up the phone and you started to talk, and you put the phone down at the end of the talking. Whereas that's all changed now.
Is that comfortable? Just put that on the back. So when it comes to the perception side, then clearly we need to be able to see it. And it's not just about size, it's about shape and contrast as well as the thing that we're trying to see, whether it's text or an icon. And we need to understand the hand, the difference between fine movement and gross movement, things like tremor as well. Obviously with hearing, we have to understand how hearing ages and the frequency range and the volumes that we choose for audible feedback.
Now start. It's supposed to start here when it's got to start.
Right, let's try again.
One of the things we've been doing here in the research for over the past 10 years is actually to understand diversity in the population, actually measuring people's capability and how they vary. This can be their vision, their hearing, their cognition, and their dexterity with their hands. We can simulate loss of function. For example, we have glasses that have actually been calibrated against the population so we can actually blur the vision that someone has. I don't believe when I look at the products and services that we analyse that we're really taking the needs and considerations of older people in those products. They are becoming a significant part of the population, and indeed we are all going to get older too. So we desperately need to start to take into account the needs of older people.
It's so complicated, and we need a bit of space to learn or to be taught to benefit from the definite pluses that are in new technology. But once we can't do it straight away or within a short time, we just push it on one side. And unfortunately, I've almost made a positive decision. I don't want to be involved with any more technology because I feel inadequate.
And it never ever ceases to amaze me just the level of struggle that people have with the products and services. And when you see it on video and when you can show that to the designers and the manufacturers, it has a real impact in understanding what it's like for those people.
Let's power off, restart. Your phone will restart. I've lost it.